line for a bit now. Tymm from Washington State, you are live on Truth Wanted. And if you could mute the stream in the background, that'd be awesome. Thank you, Tymm. What's going on?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just listening to this. This is pretty interesting.
Yeah, to say the least.
I've had a lot of fun listening to this show.
Yeah, so Tymm, you've been listening to the show for quite a bit now. I've seen your calls come in every once in a while, and I see that today you have an interesting call because it directly relates to some of Tom's work. Tom specifically has made an argument about morality and stuff, and about objective morality, which I might disagree with, by the way, but it's cool because we still can talk about it and stuff. But your question that I have here written from the call screener is tangentially related, but not necessarily related. It's, are people inherently good? Which I think is kind of a bit different from what we've talked about on here before.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's come up quite a bit this last week. A young friend of mine kind of brought it up a few days ago, and so I told him what I thought. And then Seth Andrews did a show just 2 days ago on this very subject, and it's kind of been going through my head all week. And it's my belief is, we are inherently good. I think that there are things in our lives, our training, our upbringing, certain things that happen in our lives affect us as we grow older, and all of this. And to my friend, I gave him the illustration of two toddlers who don't care that one is white and one is black. They hug and they love and all of that. And he said, well, then, but what about the selfish one? I don't want to share my toy with you, so I'm not going to share my toy with you. And to which I said, well, evolutionarily speaking, selfishness actually helped us because it had us protect our own genetic code by protecting our children. So selfishness can be honed and shows itself in that I want to keep my toy. But I think we all are inherently good. I think that it's what happens to us in our lives that affect us, and nobody on the face of the planet is all good or all evil.
I have a response to this, but I want to give Tom, the floor first for thinking about this, because I know, Tom, you've thought a lot about this question, I think.
Well, I don't think it would be right to say we're all inherently good, because I think good and bad are contingent on how we interact with others. And so I think that we all inherently have value. I think that value is inherent to all forms of life and all forms of consciousness. But to say that we're inherently good would mean to say that we would treat all other consciousnesses.
I'm so sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Tymm, if you could mute the stream in the background, it's a little bit distracting. I appreciate you, brother. Go ahead.
It is. I thought it was muted. Hold on.
We could hear you just a little bit through the phone, so I don't know exactly where that's coming from. Maybe that's from the phone itself.
Yeah, I'm on my Bluetooth.
Okay.
So
well, let's see. Go ahead. It sounds all right now. So Tom, if you want to go ahead and continue with your point. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so to say that we're inherently good would mean to say that if we would just essentially just popped into existence, we'd automatically start doing other things to help other people, which I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I think that biologically we are trained to socialize and be social animals, and in that sense we do help a certain demographic of people in our group, and we would not help others who are threatening us. But I don't think we're inherently good, because I think that would mean that we would necessarily just start off helping as many people as we could, like from birth, essentially. And I don't think that's the case. I think we're trained to be good, just like how things in our life can cause us to become evil or harm other people. Things in our life, like our socialization and parents, teach us how to help other people too. So I don't think it's true that we're inherently good. I think it's true that we have inherent value, but then we apply that to help others, which is then good. Something we learn, I think, not as something we're born with.
Okay, and my take, as I predicted, is a bit different than Tom's. And I think that good, at the end of the day, is inherently a social construct. And I know that's not a super popular opinion amongst some people, but I think what we call good is socially defined. And so depending on which group you grow up with and where you're at in the world, what's good, going to be good for some person is going to be good for another. I mean, that part's obvious, but for us to say that something is inherently good is only to relate back to what we've socially defined as good or what you've personally defined as good, which I don't think can be one specific thing at any one given time. I think most human beings have a general sense of we want to protect other humans, we want to help other humans or ourselves, and we would consider that good. A lot of definitions of good are going to be what's good for or what's going to be beneficial for, what's going to help the propagation of, yourself or the tribe that you run with. But outside of that, it's hard for me to say, where we can point to good at, because I think, again, good is going to be dependent on who you talk to. So if someone was inherently good, to me, that would mean they would inherently have this socially defined property. And that might be a bit difficult to assess. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm sure Tom has some opinions on that. But Tymm, I just want to get your takes on both of our takes, I guess. And let's see where we go from there.
Wow. I'm a little less dogmatic about my stance now. Listening to both of you, because I think you each have something that really affects my view on the inherently good thing. I hadn't thought about it in that respect, but it definitely is something that obviously has been cropping up all week long. So it's like, I'm going to call on Dr. Dan about it and see what he says. So,
wise old Dan. Let's see what he has to say about this subject that philosophers have been contemplating for thousands of years. Surely I would have the answer to all of your questions. No, but seriously, it's an interesting thing to think about, and I'm glad to hear that you're feeling less dogmatic about it, because I know at the end of the day I could be super wrong about it, and I know there's been really, really, really interesting research on the subject of ethics and the science of ethics within the past few years, now that we have better tools and methods to kind of look at stuff like brain scans and anthropological records of peoples and stuff, making comparisons and stuff. So it's fun when we don't get too deep into the muck and mire. That is, sometimes on this show in particular, I feel like I'm so done talking about morality because we talk about it quite a bit. But I think a question like, are people inherently good, is a little bit of a different flavor. So I kind of like
well, and I have become aware of the fact that I'll be 55 next month, and I've become well aware of the fact that at 55, I know diddly squat. And so every time I learn or I have an opinion and I hear somebody else's opinion, it does affect how I look at things. And I believe that if you want to keep your mind going, you're going to have to learn more all the time, which is why I like watching your show, why I like watching the ACA, Cosmic Skeptic, and GMO, or genetically modified skeptic. I like all of them because I learn a lot from everything they say. And, it's odd that I'm learning something from a 19-year-old sophomore in Oxford, but that dude's got a brain. So
at first, I'm going to be honest, Tymm, I thought you were talking about me, and I was like, Tymm, I am not 19, all right? Like, calm down. But yeah, you're talking about Cosmic Skeptic there. Well, it's like, I said it before, the Bill Nye quote, you can learn, everybody has something to teach you. That's not what he said. I think it's like, you can learn something from everybody. I think those are the words. And I still hold true to that. I hold true to that to every single call that comes in here. I hold that true to the people I talk to in my life, and I wish it's a value that we could instill with everybody. But the best we can do with that is just to show other people that value, right? Tom, you looked like you had something you wanted to say.
No, I think it's a really good thing to always keep learning and to keep searching, and I think that pursuit is probably the most important that most people usually don't. They usually give up after a while and think that there's no real point. I've got to go to work. Who cares about learning stuff? It's just useless anyway. But that idea that we should always challenge our own ideas and continue to grow is probably one of the most important things, one of the most important life lessons that we can really learn itself.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, Tymm, to sum up your question short, are people inherently good? Debatable.
Yeah, I think the terms need to be defined a little bit better. And Tom, I just wanted to say, I think you found a new subscriber. I'm going to get off of here and I'm going to go find your channel.
Thank you.
There we go. Well, Tymm, thanks again for calling into the show, and thanks for calling in as you always do. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to the next time that you call in. So.